Hey guys, Tommy Carrigan with Tommy Untamed. We've got a great show coming up. Thank you for watching. I probably should have gone back and looked at the episode I did several months ago. Not several months on in April, I think April 3rd. Where I was basically just trying to examine it and go, why hasn't the Epstein client list be released? I think the most obvious answer is because Trump's implicated. And I walked through that, and then I also, towards the end, was like, and let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say it's not. And I hope this is kind of like the beauty and the bitch of the podcast is like I'm remembering, and I'm like, I think I was trying to be pretty bipartisan, but then you go back and you find video, audio evidence of you not being that way. So this just might be another lesson in humility. But if I recall, my logic was it's most likely that he's implicated. And if not, it's because the operation had been shut down. The blackmail still existed. Deleting the blackmail doesn't undo the actions. Use the blackmail. I don't like that answer, and I am absolutely bipartisan towards Trump. I've voted for him twice. I didn't vote in 2016. But I don't think you can really draw another conclusion now. Now, granted, he is kind of the maestro at bait and switching everyone, from world leaders to the media. But even that's my like of Trump coming out. If this happened under Biden, and this is how I know I'm not being honest with myself, because if this happened under Biden, I would be saying, shut the fuck up, he's a pedophile. So I have to be honest with myself and go, if this happens under anyone else, what are you really saying right now? I go, he's a pedophile. You're implicated. Stop with the 5D chess. I saw my buddy, my maintenance guy, this morning, and he was like, what do you think? And I was like, he did it. And he was like, exactly. He did. Change all the names from Trump and Elon to Bob and Chaz and Epstein to Bill and Biden to Robert. Like, change all these names, put it on a reading comprehension section of an 8th grade English test with multiple choice answers, and go, who do you think was Who do you think is it? What do you mean? Who the fuck do you think was implicated? It's him. There's no other, and this isn't. I have a lot more lenience towards like military action, and I know for a fact I've said that on the show even when Biden was the president. I would always draw credit to Biden. I think Pacific Defense either the Pacific Defense Initiative or the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, essentially kind of cleaning the cobwebs off of a bunch of islands in between China and the United States from World War II, and literally mowing them and repaving runways and getting ready for a multi-tiered defense. Credit where it's due. And the CHIPS Act, bringing the super advanced fabrication of the TSMC factories on Taiwan back to the United States. I'm a lot more, even something like Ukraine, where I'm very openly against our involvement, because I mean, are we anti-Nazi or are we not? Are we still in the Cold War or are we not? But even then, I'm much more pliable to the bold assumption that maybe there are things I don't know, and that could be classification. If this happens, that happens, and that happens, and this happens, you're like, oh shit, we do need to fund Ukraine. As well as I might not be privy to, I don't know, wisdom and experience. I'm 34, 35 a month from today. I'm 34. I have a biology degree. I do a podcast. Maybe there are people, and for as much as we all shit on them for being incompetent and stupid, maybe there are intelligence and military officials that are pretty good at what they do. In the same way as someone without children, looking at my mom and dad who have raised 4 children, This is like me going, yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say maybe my dad has some parenting wisdom that I'm not, you know, privy to. And it might not be a classification thing. It might just be something like, hey, you just, or maybe it's not even, let's not do the appeal to authority over age. Being of someone who just started a podcast was like dictating to me what to do. Now I'm still young and dumb enough that I need to learn, and clearly it's not printing money, so I'm not doing it correct. But I'd be a little more like, why don't you do 20 episodes? Why don't you keep it going for a year? Right? There'd be some level of like, hey man, hey. And then it would get all foggy if it would be then like, all right, Dad, tell me the wisdom to parenting. Or all right, Tommy, tell me the wisdom to podcasting. It would add fuel to the fire if I then went, oh, that's classified, dude. I can't. But you gotta. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I'm much more open to, you know, involvement in Korea, involvement in Vietnam, Desert Storm, GY. Like, yes, in hindsight, I get all of that. But there's also a lot of like, I also don't believe it's a monolith of evil. I think there's a lot of like gray area, and there's a lot of civilian deaths, and that's war, and it's just that's the history of Homo sapiens. It's just what it is. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't criticize, and it doesn't mean that you are not entitled to using your own deductive reasoning and free will that the Lord Jesus Christ gave you because you're a dummy. You're not an expert. You're not an expert. No, you no, I'm not an MD, but you're also allowed to look at screwy things like I'm not allowed to know what's in the drug, and all the reactions are banned from social media. You're allowed to exhibit and use your own curiosity. None of what I just said applies to this. There are things that you just have to say, no, that's the line. You just that's the line. Like even when like I have like I have like a full week of podcasts ahead of me. I don't mind getting a bad night's sleep on the last day of work because I'm like I just power through it. But if it's like a Monday, like last night, I have like lines of delineation where it's like 10 p.m. I'm like, yeah, I probably should get off. 11 p.m. Like I should probably get off the video games. And then around like 11:45, I was like, you can go till midnight. And then I was like, wait, no, this is just what? Because if I can't get up now, what? How in God's if I can't stop after 5 hours of playing because I know I'm not going to get enough sleep? What in God's name am I going to get out of this last 15 minutes? And B, you can stop then. So I just turned it all off. Got up and shut the blinds, put up the placeholder video for tomorrow, take a shower, get in bed. There's just like lines of like, you have to go to bed. It's Sunday night. You have 5 days of multiple shows a day ahead of you. There's a line. There's just a line. You have to go to bed. And that's for me because I'm an OCD person, but for I don't know, maybe it's like, hey, I don't think my girlfriend or boyfriend's cheating, but this is like the fifth straight Friday where they kind of vanish and then say, oh, I'm just looking at my phone. Where you're like, hey, don't treat me like an idiot. There are lines that you have to have. And often, maybe that's a good example. Often with things like love, it's not until hindsight that you go, man, I was really blinded by emotion. And that's why you got to be there for your buddies who are going through relationships because we can't help them. You tell them, hey, I'm trying to help you look through the emotion, and they can't see shit because they're lovesick. But the point still stands where in hindsight, and that's like, well, how many relationships do you go through? How many flings, how many flirts, how many crushes from middle school to current age do you have to go through before you start noticing patterns in yourself and in others? That's not just like all women suck. Like maybe I'm too clingy, or maybe I'm too aloof, distant. You start looking at things, and then you start to kind of go, all right, well, let's draw lines around. I'm not okay with that in a partner. I'm not okay with this. I am okay with that. Or wow, that person's really out of my league, and I don't think I can rise to the occasion, and I should be honest about that. There are just lines. There just are. Just, you got to go to bed. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop doing that. There are certain lines where you go, we can't keep going down this road. And I'm willing to extend a whole lot of understanding to things like the military and the intelligence community. And to go, maybe I don't know. And the stakes are very high. It's not, wisdom in fucking podcasting. It's wisdom in, does a nuke go off in New Delhi? Like, I think with this, though, this is one of the things where you do have to kind of draw a line around it and go, yeah, I'm okay with it. We're all human. We all fuck up. I'm not okay with like a video coming out of like my girlfriend a horse on 4chan. I'm like that. I don't know if I'm okay with that. Actually, I'll go so far as to say no. I'm not okay with that. I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. I don't have to explain myself. I'm just not doing this. There are lines. There are just lines that you just don't do that. Just don't do that. Let's call this what it is. This isn't the Epstein client list because that whitewashes it in the same way that saying war is hell. We think it's a profound statement, but that whitewashes it. You talk to some of like anyone that's seen active combat and the shit they tell you about and the shit that they've seen, you go, words don't apply to that. And so I think it's very important to say that this isn't the Epstein client list, the Epstein Island, because that's just a phrase. That's a sign. That's a nickname. That's a that's a sign on a highway overpass that says next exit 2 miles. Call it what it is. It's the forced of children. And if you don't like that, and if that feels weird to say, and you can't turn down the podcast, good. It is. I'm just assuming it's all men, children. Maybe it's women too. But just for the sake of men, it is forcibly. Let's just call it what it is, and it's very uncomfortable. Shut the fuck up. A child who is much smaller than a man, and proportionally has much smaller orifices: mouth, anus, vagina. Call it what it is. And they're being forcibly raped to bodily tissue damage, tearing, bleeding, not to mention the psychological skull that happens. That's what it is. It's not Epstein's Island. It's not, well, it's blackmail. No, no, no. Call it what it is. Somebody said this last year. They go, stop saying they tried to shoot Trump. Say what it is. They wanted his head physically destroyed. Blood, brain matter, skull, ligaments, chunks of hair flying off in 4K in slow motion on television to show you that you do not step out of line. Because it used to be you're going to get Kennedy, and now they can say twice, you get Kennedy to get Trump. It's happening. And everyone's going to see it. That's what it is. Call it what it is. It is the forced penetration of children by adults. Dude, if you can't draw a line around that, if that can't be the equivalent of like, yes, that my girlfriend, it's not only did she go out and turn her phone off, but I saw a video of her a horse. Like a horse cock? No, no, no. I mean like a literal horse. Like an equine orgasm. Like, one, I didn't appreciate just being lied to, saying your phone was dead. But what? Because that's, hey, we're not seeing eye to eye. You have to have lines that you can draw around. Because if you don't really have anything. You're just this untethered down tent that's just kind of shifting a few feet in the wind. And sometimes it gets picked up and thrown, other times it doesn't. But there's no real value to it because it's not there when the going gets tough. Versus a house, a basement, you go, yeah, I can come down here when there's a tornado, and I'm probably pretty safe. That is what this is. you have to be honest with yourself about that, because if you cannot be honest about that, your thoughts and opinions really mean almost nothing. And I'll use this example. I was screaming at a group of people on a game stream a little over 2 years ago. I don't know. I've been awake for like 30 hours and I was singing about Lizzo. I don't know, like getting a green card or something because she was in a scat. I don't know. Slander. And there were friends there that were conservative and there were friends there that were liberal. And I would ask them what they think about certain members of the other party. I asked one, I was like, what do you think? What about like Marjorie Taylor Greene? What about Lauren Boebert? Or other friends, I'm like, what about AOC? AOC, no, I don't, Green's not mine, but AOC, Boebert, those are both objectively attractive women. They don't have to be your type. They don't. I'm not saying they're 10 out of 10. They're objectively attractive women. Worst case, they're objectively cute. But who the fuck am I to? And my point in saying this, and I didn't plan this. It only sounded smart in hindsight. I was just screaming. But what I kind of realized as I was saying it was, if you cannot be honest about the most base desires, really the biggest common ground we all have. Yeah, I do like sex. All right, we can shake hands on that. I agree. I also like food, water, and sleep. Me too. Well, maybe we're not that different after all. If your delusion is so deep seated that it skews that, and or skews your ability to be honest about that, then your opinions and thoughts on anything don't matter, because there's no true cement foundation to where you can find the bedrock. There is no gold that you can find that backs up the fiat. If it's worst case scenario, you legitimately don't find them attractive because they're different politically. And you have guys being like, no, Melania is kind of ugly for her age. What? Like, so that's the worst case where you're actually delusional. You're not being dishonest. You actually don't find them attractive for their political. In which case, well, there's you go. Oh, that person is that doesn't make you a bad person, but that does mean there's really no intellectual heft, philosophical heft, ability, or even willingness to do self reflection. Okay, that doesn't make him a bad coworker, but there's really nothing. There's nothing deeper in there. You're not going to shift any Overton window in their head. That's insane. And honestly, it might not be bad to be that deluded. That might be kind of enjoyable. It might be an anesthesia. The next is, and this is everyone in that game stream, none of them were that badly deluded, were the ones who you could wiggle it out of. I don't find her attractive. Just like, will you shut the up? Like, is you see her at a bar, you're 21, you're both you're not, you're not. And finally, you have a guy on the left be like, he thought Marjorie Taylor Greene is hot. I was gonna say Lauren Bart, but he was like, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Like, disagree. I never want to talk to her, but oh yeah. After a couple, oh yeah. And I finally had like my conservative friend being like, yeah, I mean AOC, yeah, 10,000%, yeah, good. That's all I'm asking for. Is because that says to me, at least, not only are you not so deluded that you literally can't find them attractive, but you're also not so deluded that you can't be honest about it. So you can go, yeah, no, yeah, I hate her, but yeah, oh yeah, I'd hit it. There is a level of honesty to where you can go, okay. So if you can be honest about the most base thing, there's at least a framework, uh, a cornerstone, a keystone that we can maybe walk forward to and be like, okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of a single payer healthcare system, whatever, military involvement in Guam. I don't know. And I really do think that is important. Because if you can't do that, then it shows that nothing is real. It shows that absolutely nothing. If you're playing Grand Theft Auto and as soon as it starts to go bad, you can just put in an invincibility cheat, well, then I don't actually want to like play with you on a mission or something because I know when it going really gets tough, the only you can't actually survive. So everything else is just a facade. That's kind of how I look at this. It's like if we can't put a box around this, and I'm not saying it's not difficult because there's also horrible implications. You go, wait, I thought this guy was fighting the swamp. Oh, the swamp really is all encompassing. Yeah, those are some bad thoughts to run through. But I'm not even telling you to do that today. It's a it's a multi-day workshop. We'll approach that another time. If you cannot be honest about this, the forced penetration of children by adults, and then people that are maybe you are drugged, maybe you're forced to do it. The fact that they are still willing to then go out and go, yeah, I'll sign any bill that you don't release that. That there's not even a sense of like, I'm gonna do right in the eyes of God and like they'll kill me, but easy to say. You know, I'm not on that list, not that I know of. But if you can't box that off and agree that that is bad, then I don't. There's really nothing to discuss. And lastly, and I'll wrap it up because I got another show in a couple minutes. Is I think I talked about this with Dale one time. Was that I get that empire, geopolitics. I get that it's like more than I can imagine. Right? You know, the footsteps of a nation accidentally kill how many people a year, let alone intentionally. I get that. I get that. Hey, not every bomb hit a military target in World War II. I get that. But if something like, and I'm biased, like the United States, something where we at least attempt to have some sort of rights and it's resource rich, and you can come and you have the opportunity to pursue, and it's geographically in a fantastic place, has the resources to fund itself, and it has a nation that it took us 12,000 years to get here, but the premise of like if you work really hard, you can like kind of maybe do well. I look at that and I look at all of the flaws of the United States and I go, yeah, I do think ultimately it probably does more good. And I could be wrong, but I think in like the cold calculus of it, if you were to spreadsheet it out, and look at like number of lives brought out of poverty versus number of lives killed by U.S. actions, military actions, occupation, you could say innovation that came out of this country and what that did for the rest of the world, for anywhere from average IQ to the stillborn rate to clean drinking water to polio. I do believe that you could on a spreadsheet you could say it's actually doing more good than bad. And that's it's not a person where you can easily fix things. It's a nation of hundreds of millions of people and trillions of dollars. Like this is probably not, as far as empires go, it's probably not the worst. But if that empire can only exist not because of harsh military missions or bombings or foreign entanglements, but if that thing can only exist through the use and leverage of videography of forced penetration of children, then that nation does not deserve to exist. Because, and that's not just like a self righteous high horse thing, it actually makes sense if you walk it out. Because if that's what's needed to sustain that empire, that nation, then that nation will continue to create that tool. Because it already created that tool to sustain itself, and it's sustaining itself to go on. And if it goes on existing, it's going to go on doing the same actions that it does, including blackmail. It does not deserve to exist. And, I don't get to make that decision. And it's I'm not to dictate the lives of hundreds of millions of people. But you do have to look at that and go, if that's what's required, then it's probably not worth continuing. Right? Like, what are we salvaging here? So, I don't know. But for my own sanity and for my own respect of myself, I have to look at this and go, yeah, there's no other answer than Trump's involved. Which, and this is I'll say in the next show, that's what I think the whole Elon leaving Doge thing is. I don't think it's about budget. I think him saying it's too inefficient to be fixed. I think that's him saying it's too to be fixed. You also don't accuse Trump of being on the Epstein list if you only do that if you know you're not on the list. I think that's what the creation of the American Party is. So I was shitting on him for it, but I'm actually starting to think maybe that's what he's doing. So I don't know. It might be hail Elon. I don't know, but you have to boldly go where the truth takes you. And I don't know who said it, but I like it. Whatever happens after you tell the truth is the best thing that could happen in the long run. So, I don't know. Thanks for listening.
Hey there! Are you tired of skyrocketing subscription costs? With Q Broadcast, you get an entertainment package that is unmatched by other providers, with all your favorite content in one affordable bundle. Enjoy a 15-day trial for just $14.99. And if you refer 3 friends and they stick around, your subscription is free. Say goodbye to high-priced subscriptions, contracts, and hassles, and say hello to streaming simplicity with Q Broadcast. This changes everything.
Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. 72 servings per pail, 25 years shelf life. I've had the owner Clayton on the show before. He's a God-fearing, America-loving patriot. Get one of these, get a couple of them, throw them in your basement. It's good to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it. If you don't want to do that, you can get their seeds. You can plant your own garden, so you don't even have to keep buying them. You can just get the goods and start your own, or you can even get freeze-dried fruits and vegetables like bananas, apples, strawberries, and raspberries. They support the show. It's an honest product. It's a good safety measure to have, and they keep my show free for you. So I'd implore you guys to please go to heavensharvest.com, use the link in the description, promo code TPC. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. Axios is best known for the Training Club, capital T, capital C, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to do to take action against the decay of the modern world. Whether you're looking to improve your physique, build strength, or just take care of your health and fitness, Axios will provide you with a solution that is effective and simple to execute. All you need to do is complete the intake survey, and you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any other of the services. And it's going to sponsor the show. So, one company falls off, another one arises. So if you guys like the show, you want to work out, throw the show a couple shekels. Go take the survey. Thank you so much, guys.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a Blue Room soon. www.blueroom.com